Are we rolling, David?
We're rolling.
Oh, hey, hi everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm Roby, your host from the stars. And as the puppet producer today, I want to give Lisa an extravagant welcome. We're gonna have fireworks, sing-alongs, $1 million giveaway, and Roby, we don't have a budget for anything like that. And we're gonna have a title card. I started making puppets as a child. I went to a class after school. Performing in the show, I was never shy when I was a dog or a cucumber. Didn't matter. I think for me, puppets growing out of folklore and magic, they were used in religious rituals since written history. And it's not that I'm interested in any really particular religion, but I am interested in what makes people tick. I'm interested in how they feel, how they're affected by death or life or, something wonderful and magical in their lives. So I love telling folk tales. I love telling stories from around the world. And puppets can enter the mysterious realm between man and God, sort of. They can live in that in-between state. So I do try in all my shows, even if it's just Aesop's Fables, I try to touch that common denominator in people, because they do respond. When I was in graduate school, I did a Master of Fine Arts in puppetry at UCLA. And there I worked with this man, Bruce Schwartz, who many years ago was well known in the puppetry world. He did beautiful work, and I was his assistant and did shows in Hollywood with Bruce. From that, Bruce and I both were cast in Captain EO and the Space Knights. It was George Lucas and Francis Coppola. It was Michael Jackson. It was kind of a big deal Hollywood thing. From the work we did on that, then I got cast. It was also Lucasfilm in Howard the Duck. So that's kind of how my, I'd say, film career took off. When you're working on camera, not only do you have to have this incredible precision in your arm, but you're looking at a monitor, and it's the reverse of the image. So it's not like looking in a mirror. It's like you look this way, the camera's going that way. So you need to stay in frame. You need to know what's up, what's down, where everything is when you're performing. You develop certain muscles in your arm that probably a normal person doesn't have doing character voices and things. So it's a very, very precise way of performing. I think most people just have no idea how difficult it is, really, for a puppet to look good on camera. So when I'm making really big figures or figures that are, I call them, Muppet style, that are much softer, that are made out of foam, I create patterns first. So, for example, this is the pattern, the shapes for Roby. So what I try to do is visualize in 2 dimensions how I can put like a puzzle together to form a shape in 3 dimensions. When I'm approaching a new show, which I am right now, the first thing I think about is, what does the puppet have to do? Does it need to pick things up? Does it need to fly? Does it need to transform into a flower? And that will inform what style of puppetry I use. Is it a shadow puppet? Is it a hand puppet? Is it a marionette? So that's where I begin. What will play into that is, who is my audience? Is it a television audience where I can work fairly small? Or is it for a spectacle where the figures need to be 10, 12 feet tall? So a lot of it is practical. Then it'll be a matter of, what's the tone, the feeling of the show? So is the piece really simple for children? Or is it very detailed and I want to convey meticulously 16th century Japan? Some of the most intricate puppets as far as crafting goes are the marionettes. The joints, for the most part, I use wood, and they have to be made precisely. There can't be too much wiggle room, or the puppet will be sloppy. It's like building a musical instrument that you're going to play with strings. Everything has to be just right. So for example, on an arm joint, you want it to stop here. You don't want the elbow to bend the other way. Same with the wrists. All these joints, you have to craft them in such a way so that they will only go as far as you want them to, and then they'll stop naturally without getting stuck. That to me is one of the most mechanically challenging, is balancing the puppet, have the weight right, have the foot raised correctly. That's a whole art in itself. Something I'm the most proud of was I worked with the Lyric Opera of Chicago for the Ring Cycle. I built huge dragon for Siegfried and giants for Rheingold, and that to me, I love music, so working with these finest musicians in the world, really, it was just thrilling. I would have an idea and I'd come in to the production team, I'd say, hey, thinking maybe we could do this in black light and have this happen. I get there the next day and they've hung, $20,000 of black lights in the theater to do a test. I'm like, this is great. So I was one of about a dozen puppeteers on the Flintstones working the huge dinosaur in the beginning where we had to choreograph all the movements from inside. And then I was lucky enough to be one of 4 people cast to work Dino. That weekend before we shot that, the whole cast and crew went to see Jurassic Park. It had just come out. When we got back into shooting, I noticed we were no longer on the call sheet to play Dino because they had seen the movie and decided to go CGI. So a lot of the work that used to be done by puppeteers is now done by CGI. But I want to say puppetry has survived so far for about 4,000 years that we know of, probably 5,000. So I think it's got a good chance of making it into the next century. Since moving here to Tucson, I've opened up this Red Herring Puppets at the Tucson Mall, and we've been building an audience. In the last 5 years, I have created a show called My Grandfather's Prayers. It's an adult show, and it is about the life of my actual maternal grandfather, Ijo Glickstein. What's wonderful for me about this show is it's a multimedia show. My grandfather was a child prodigy. He was a 4th generation cantor. He was kidnapped when he was 8 years old. He was a chaplain in World War I. He became cantor of the largest synagogue in Europe. The challenge for me was, how do I do this with puppets? How do I make it my story and make it his story? And it becomes a story about me looking for my own creativity, being inspired by my grandfather. This show was filmed at JLTV in Los Angeles, and it's now airing internationally. In fact, we won a Telly Award. I hope to also make more adult productions, and I'd love to turn that into a feature film. I think his story is so engaging. What would I do if I wasn't a puppeteer? My husband always teases me that I was just born to be a puppeteer. It's everything that I love to do, all thrown together. It's the folklore and mythology. It's the working with my hands. It's singing. It's choreography. It's, performing different characters. So I think if I didn't have that outlet, I would still play music. I would be singing. I would be drawing and painting. I would still be doing a lot of those crafts. And I think I'd probably still want to work with young people, pass along the trade, give people a way to express what's going on inside.
Ta-da! Thanks for joining us. The end.